The Miami Dolphins were completely embarrassed on national television as they got destroyed by the Kansas City Chiefs, which eliminated them from the playoffs. Tua was absolutely horrific in this game, and it seemed like every single decision he made was the wrong decision. Everything seemed to go wrong for him from the very beginning of this game when he threw a terrible interception, and really the only bright spot in the entire game for him was the massive touchdown bomb to Tyreek Hill. It was an absolute embarrassment for Tua as he finished 20 of 39 for 199 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He just couldn't hit his receivers consistently. On fourth down was taking checkdowns, and this has become a trend with Tua. In key games that the Dolphins have, he just doesn't show up. We saw it last weekend when they played the Buffalo Bills. He went 17 for 27 with a touchdown and 2 picks. It just seems like when the moment gets too bright, Tua doesn't show up. And this is something that Dolphins fans are going to have to go into the offseason really wondering about. Tua had a base salary with his fifth-year option of $23 million this year. The Dolphins were very wise not to give Tua a long-term contract, and this season, Tua is set to become a free agent. Now, the Dolphins have a couple of decisions. They could easily go and franchise tag him and bring him back, which, could definitely happen. But do you even want to bring Tua back? Tua, over the last 2 seasons, with last year he had the 3 concussions which sidelined him for the playoffs, in which Skylar Thompson came in, and he looked better in the playoffs than Tua did. On top of that, you saw what he did against Kansas City today. You saw what he did against Buffalo last week. And a Dolphins team that started off really hot finished the year 3-5 with one of their wins coming against the Jets, which to me is not that impressive. He had 4 interceptions in this stretch and overall just really didn't look like the Tua that we had seen all season long. Now, I know on paper his stats are going to look good, but in the big moments, Tua just never is able to get the job done. And it's leaving a lot of Dolphins fans wondering what's next. This is a Dolphins team that went all out over the last few off seasons, acquiring Tyreek Hill, acquiring Jalen Ramsey, and Teron Armstead, and they have spent big money to try and go make this roster a potential contender. And it seems like they are a contender. While their offensive line has struggled and they were missing key pieces on the defense, the quarterback position seems to be holding them back. And do you even want to commit to Tua for the long haul? Now, I'm not saying that the Dolphins should trade Tua or really anything, but it is something that definitely we should be discussing. In a quarterback draft class that is extremely rich in potential superstars, and you've got a generational prospect like Caleb Williams coming out of USC, a report came out last season that Caleb Williams would be interested in playing for the Miami Dolphins. He gave a few teams on the list, and Miami was one of those few teams. Now, Caleb Williams is going to be a hefty price if they are going to end up trading up for him. But the former Heisman champion is one of the best prospects we have seen in years. His ability to escape the pocket almost neutralizes the Dolphins' offensive line woes. I think an issue that Tua has is he's not the most mobile quarterback in the world. While he's able to escape every now and then, that's not really his game, and Tua is more of a pocket passer. Caleb Williams is not that. He has the ability to escape the pocket and turn it into major plays. At 6'1", 215 pounds, Tua and Caleb Williams have similar size, but I think Caleb's arm is even better. We've looked at the over and under throws that Tua has struggled with over the last few years. I don't think that would be an issue for Caleb Williams. Now, the thing you've got to worry about is what kind of trade package are you putting together? The Chicago Bears currently hold the number 1 pick, and do the Dolphins want to move assets to go get Caleb Williams? I think you could definitely look into it. You've got some nice contracts there. You've got Jalen Ramsey, who you could potentially move. You've got Christian Wilkins, which if you franchise tag him, you could potentially move him in a deal. I think that could be an enticing piece. You also have your first-round pick this year, which the Dolphins haven't had in a couple of seasons now. You have a pick that you can trade. I think it would be a hefty trade offer because you're in the 20s. You're going to have to convince Chicago to give them a deal they just can't refuse. you're probably going to have to trade Jalen Waddle and or Christian Wilkins, 3 first-round picks, and I don't think it's entirely not worth it. This is a Dolphins team that, as I mentioned, I think they are very close to winning the Super Bowl. They were in the first place in the AFC for a long time this season, and they looked really good. But against those better defenses, we really saw Tua struggle. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to trade up for Caleb Williams. You could go get Drake May, or maybe you just sit where you're at and take a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix, who could be a future long-term option. I think there are a lot of things that the Dolphins management has to think about. And with a creative play caller like Mike McDaniel, I think you could really put any quarterback in this scheme, and they could be effective. I think this is going to be very interesting. I'd like to hear from you, Dolphins fans. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Dolphins should keep Tua, or do you think that it's time to move on?